Peace and blessings, everybody. It is yours truly, Amar Mari. I am the founder of El Kebalan Unity Alliance. I thank everybody for your love and support, man. We are so excited about people who has been inboxing us and asking us questions in regards to what has transpired in our life, what has transformed our minds. My queen, Amani Amari, and I, we are the founders of the organization. Um, I want to send a shout out to Baba Nathaniel Styles. I appreciate him. Practitioner Ifa, one of my teachers, one who I go to and ask questions. I greatly appreciate him. He threw a Kwanzaa festivity on last year. We had a blast. Love you, Baba. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for taking out the time to answer my questions when I called upon you. It's such a wonderful thing to be able to have somebody that is senior and somebody who's spiritually mature that I can go to and seek out answers to my questions from. Being that, I'm new on the path, I appreciate that you taking out the time. Uh, Again, El Kebalan Unity Alliance, we focus on your spiritual, your physical, financial well-being. For those who do not know, my queen and I, we're former teachers in the ministry of Christianity, and our minds have been transformed now. Now we're spiritual people. Due to our research and our findings, we have drawn the conclusion that what's best for us is spirituality and not religiosity. Okay, it had us both incarcerated, and we are living our best life now that we are free from these things. And these things, more specifically, are the teachings of man. Okay, what specifically teaching of man is, again, those teachings and doctrines in the commandments that are parasitic, those things that are opinionative, those things that unfortunately people base their lives on. And what it does is it blocks them, it keeps them from growing spiritually. Okay, and incarcerates our minds. It keeps us from being free thinkers. The Creator has given us a mind to be able to think. We've been given wisdom, we've been given intellect, and it is for us to use it. Okay, just like we've been given eyes, we've been given a nose, we've been given ears, eyes to see, nose to smell, ears to hear. Okay, so being that we have a mind, we've been given a brain. The brain was designed for us to think. Okay, and so I do not believe that there's anything wrong with us thinking. I do not believe that we're leaning to our own understanding when wisdom comes from the Creator. Okay, so being that wisdom comes from the Creator and we've been given wisdom, it is not a sin, in order for you to use your mind, to use your common sense. Okay, and so these are the things that we're refuting. We're just simply refuting these man-made traditions and doctrines and commandments. For instance, like we had talked about in our other session, I'm going to do a recap. This is what I do every session. I do a very brief recap. So I'm going to touch on some of the things that we talked about, and I'm working to the message on today. Today will be very brief. Okay, I had an appointment on today, and I had to push up the time. So I thank everybody who's tuning in as bearing with me on today. Okay, we had talked about, how religion incarcerates your mind. For instance, like Easter, how, they say that the rabbit lays eggs. That is a psychological problem, because anybody that knows anything about animals knows that a rabbit does not lay eggs. A chicken lays eggs. Okay, even a snake, but alligators. But when you start thinking about a rabbit actually births bunnies. Okay, and this is how religiosity will incarcerate you and have you believing in, a human being that was born without any sexual intercourse. Okay, and you basing your life on a story that cannot even be proven. Okay, and this is the reason why they use the scripture, blessed are those who believe and they have not seen me. No, that is not what you want to base your life upon. It's just a story. Okay, because you cannot prove that this individual did that. You got to start questioning about, okay, well, why did this have to happen for me to be forgiven for any wrong I've done? Because guess what the very Bible says that they read? It says, if you confess your faults unto Yah, Yah is faithful and just to forgive you and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. That is an oxymoron from what they was teaching prior to that. Okay? Prior to that, it was he that believes and is baptized will be saved. He that believeth not shall be condemned. Then later on in one of the letters in John, he said, if you confess your faults unto God, God is just and faithful enough to forgive you and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. That is an oxymoron. Okay? Also, if Yeshua, the question you have to ask yourself, if Yeshua actually died on the cross for all of your sins, then why do you need to go down in some water? You have to ask yourself that question. Okay? And again, this is only for those who are on the path to be broken free from religiosity. These are just thought-provoking questions to get you to start thinking about some things. Now, I want you to think about that. If his blood was shed for the remission of sins, then why do you need to be baptized in some water for the remission of your sins? So how can water then save you? If his blood was shed for the remission of sins, then what sense would that make for water to be able to wash you from the remission of your sins? And then you got to ask yourself the question, how can water save you? Okay? You got to be very logical about that. Are you going to be set free from demonic activity because you went down in some water? The most important area of your life to be saved is your mind. Okay? Listen, that is the most powerful miracle in this world. It's for somebody's mind to be transformed. That is a miracle within itself. Because you live the way that you think. Okay? The way we think is how we live. The way we talk, the way we act. All is driven and influenced by our minds. Okay? A racist does what he or she does because of what they've been miseducated to think. So because they've been taught the wrong thing, they have the wrong mentality, which in turn influences their conduct, which causes destruction. So the only way for the destruction that they cause to cease is they have to first have a change of mind. The reason why they do what they do, the racists, is because they've been brainwashed to believe that the things that they're doing is right. What am I saying to you? I'm saying to you that the reason why people do the things that they do is because of the way they've been taught. You have extremist Muslims that will strap a bomb to themselves and they will go kill someone thinking that they're doing God a favor, thinking that they're doing the Creator a favor, okay? All right? You had people who claim to be Christians, like the Ku Klux Klan, okay? And those who went on these crusades. I do not call it holy because there was nothing pure about what they were doing, okay? They went around killing people, okay, in the name of God, all right? The extremist Muslim go around killing people in the name of God. The extremist so-called conscious person go around calling people nigger, calling people Uncle Toms, calling people sellouts, okay? They really think they're doing the right thing. They'll go out there and they will take up arms and they'll kill an innocent Caucasian person because they've been brainwashed, they're bitter, and they'll do things. Why? All of these things are derived from the wrong mentality. Why does a person think this way? It's because information influences the thoughts. So just check your mindset. Why do you believe 1 + 1 is 2? Because you were taught that. Why do you believe in washing yourself? Because you were taught that. Okay? Why do I believe in chivalry? Why do I believe in respecting women? I'm talking about myself personally now because I was taught that. All right? There are habits that I have that I was taught when I was a teenager, when I was young. Okay? I do not leave my home without making sure my residence is clean. Why? Because my mother instilled that in me. So thus it became a habit. It became a what? A ritual. It became what? Religious. Religious, by definition, actually, is something that you do. Of course, there's multiple definitions to one word, of course. All right. But, for this particular case, you can use religion in the sense of something that is repetitious that you do as a routine. Okay. When they say somebody does that religiously, that means that they do it over and over and over again. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go back to what we were talking about here. I just wanted to throw that in there. I just wanted to do a recap of what we had talked about on the last session. And last time I got a question from one of the listeners, and they asked me, where at in the scripture does it identify the creator as a he? Okay, so again, where does it say in the scripture that the creator is referred to as a he? Okay, so now for those who have their pen and paper, okay, it is Isaiah chapter number 63. If you go to verse 15 through 16, okay, again, Isaiah chapter number 63, verse 15 through 16, specifically verse 16, it says, Father. Okay, Psalms 123, all right, verse number 3, he. Okay, Proverbs chapter number 3, verse number 5. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not to thy own understanding, all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Okay, so New Testament, John 3, verse number 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever should believe in him shall have everlasting life. Okay, the Our Father prayer, Matthew chapter number 6, verse number 9. Our Father. Okay, John chapter number 17, verse number 1. Started out with, when Yeshua was praying, he said, Father. Okay, so hopefully that is evidence for you. All right, for those who like to ask questions, anybody who have any questions out there, you like answers to your questions, please drop your questions in the comment block. Okay, and in the next video, I will answer your questions. Okay, now another question that was posed to me was, what can we do to rid ourselves of believing that Yeshua was a Caucasian? Okay, listen, I personally don't believe that this being ever existed. Okay, there is no historical data or proof outside of a book called the Bible that says that this being ever existed. Okay, that this person ever existed. There's historical data, there's historical facts that Martin Luther King existed, Malcolm X existed, Shaka Zulu existed, Queen Azinga existed, all right? Thomas Sankara, all right, existed. Winnie Mandela, all right, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. There's all type of evidence to prove that these individuals existed. There is no evidence whatsoever that none of these writers, okay, of these scripts, okay, or any of these people that was spoken about, other than certain kings like King Hezekiah, okay, that's the truth. The only time you hear anything close about anybody, far as Moshe, is one of the Egyptian pharaohs, okay, which was Moshe. The name Moses was in that name, okay, all right, that is it, okay, that is it, okay. So I'm not telling you to take my word. I don't believe in telling anybody to take what I'm saying, okay. This is just me sharing information with you. Of course, it's upon you for you to go and research what was said or to search. Okay, for those who have never searched these things ever before. All right, so now we're going to get on to the message about we all have a purpose. I said I was going to carry on in regards to what I was talking about in the last session that we had, session number 5. This is session number 6. I highly encourage all of you who have not seen the other sessions, if you would be so kind, to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All those videos are there, or of course scroll down the page. Why you want to go there is because I have content on the channel that I do not have on Facebook. Okay, there are playlists there of spiritual teachers that are wiser than myself. okay, that are at a more advanced level. Okay, so for those of you who this is boring you, that's the channel you want to go to. You want to go to the playlist called Soul Elevation, okay, or School of Thought, okay, and there you will find numerous spiritual teachers like Sri Master Gano Grills, Master Mitchell Gibson, like my cousin Yosef. He's a spiritual guy. He's a spiritual teacher. He does spiritual counseling. Okay, so people who are wiser than I and more knowledgeable than I. Okay, so if you want to find some people that will help you to the next level and you're there, feel free to go there to the channel and go to those playlists, and I guarantee you it will empower you. Okay? All right, now, so in our last session, we talked about the matrix. We talked about how everybody has a purpose. Okay? Everybody has a purpose, just like everything that is created has a purpose. As I aforementioned, I mentioned about the eyes. Okay, but just like in nature, everything has a purpose. Okay, it may seem very brutal to people who don't understand the life cycle, but in nature, it's not brutal for the lion, okay, to eat the deer. Okay, the deer is there to supply food for the lion. Okay. Okay. Again, you have the air conditioner that was created. It's created. May not be a part of nature, but it was created. What is the purpose of the air conditioner? It is for it to climatize the room with cool air or even heating, depending on which type of one you purchase. Okay? So I said all of that to say this. All of us has a purpose in life, and we have to find out what our purpose is. Okay? Believe it or not, some people are in your life, just like in the movie you had the agents, and the agents tried Neo. Listen, without a test, you will actually not know where you are, where you're not, and where you need to be. If you never went through anything in your life, okay, when you did go through something, you will emotionally break down because you're not used to going through anything. This is one reason why we go through things in our life, because it is to build up mental strength and character in us. Okay, believe it or not, some people were actually, all right, created and designed, okay, for them to be a nuisance. Believe it or not. Okay, believe it or not, spiritually, some people are actually parasites. They were created just like a leech is created. What does a leech do? A leech sucks the blood, okay, out of a person, you know, out of a thing, okay, the blood, the life, okay, so it can live. Okay, it'll take the thing that is sucking life so it can live. Okay, so you have some people that are parasites, okay, that they live off of other people. Okay, now you have some spiritual energy forces that are out there that are dark forces that they feed off of negative energy. These forces attaches itself to people who are suicidal, people who are depressed, people who are stressed out, okay, people who are mentally unstable, okay. Believe it or not, some of these things are not just clinically a problem. Actually, some of these things are literally spiritual forces that have attached itself to, okay, a person. All right. So there's spiritual forces that are behind certain things. With certain spiritual systems, you have spiritual forces that are attached to these specific systems that function within these systems. When you're dealing with somebody who's dealing with dark magic, they beckon on certain demonic forces. They call on dark energy forces in order for them to be empowered, for them to carry out their bidding to do wrong. A curse is not what people think, okay? A curse, you must look up the definition of curse. Okay, a lot of us say, oh, you're cursing, you know, oh, you said a bad word. This is the reason why we got to get into linguistics, because we was raised, okay, those who are religious, okay, and not religious. We've been raised to believe that a curse is saying particular words that are considered to be quote unquote foul language. Okay, that is not cursing. Okay, curse is to wish evil on someone or to send an negative energy force after someone to do harm. That is a curse. When somebody is using a word out of its text, okay, and using it in a derogatory way, for instance, calling a woman a female dog, calling her a bitch, okay, that is called profanity. There is no such thing as a bad word. No such thing. A word can only be used to do wrong. The word itself is not wrong when you use it in text. If you call an actual female dog a bitch, you're not wrong because that's what it is. But when you take that word and now you use that word as to label a female, now you're using profanity. Okay? Because you're using that word in a derogatory way. Okay? So I have to help some of us who have these traditional, mindsets about certain things, and a tradition is something that you practice over and over and over again, something that's been passed down, okay, and that you rehearse, okay. So I'm going to go into that, and touch on that, and I'm going to move on. Short, brief message on today, okay. I just want to get this out, okay. So again, now you have these traditions such as what people call communion. Now, communion, first of all, you can't take communion. You only could be a participant in communion. Communion means to fellowship in unity, to commune, to fellowship, to gather. Okay? All right? Union, communion, to fellowship and unity. Union is unity, that's harmony, that's coming together. Okay? So to commune, to come together in fellowship. Okay, so you don't take communion. Okay, you are a participant in communion. All right, now, by definition of the word. So, now, even if you go to sacrament, get to the root word like sacrifice, things of this nature, sacred and whatnot, something to be sacred, meaning that it's holy and things of this nature, right? So they would consider that to be a sacrament, a holy meal and things of this nature. All right, now what you need to do is look up Mithraism. Mithraism. Okay? Mithraism. You see that Mithraism will predate Christianity. Look up Mithraism. Now, in Christianity, you have a ceremony. They call it Holy Communion. It says, drink of the blood and eat of the flesh. Now, how does that sound to you? It says, drink of the blood and eat of the flesh. Now, we got to think about how these things sound. Okay, eat of my blood and drink of my flesh. The bread represents his body that was supposed to be sacrificed for them. The blood is supposed to represent the blood that was shed for them. That was supposed to, be shed for the forgiveness of their wrongdoings. Okay? Now, in no way am I condemning anyone, and in no way at all am I doing this, okay? In no way am I calling you fools or anything like that. I just really want you to think about how that sounds. If you walk up to somebody and say, well, you need to partake of this, you need to eat of the flesh and drink of the blood. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't sound too kosher to me. That doesn't sound too embraceable to me. Okay? Now, sometimes, they will call what we do satanic. That sounds satanic. Now, that sounds satanic. Eat of the flesh and drink of the blood. Now, that sounds satanic. Now, when you look up the definition anyway of the word and whatnot, you'll come to find that devil is adversary. Okay, so you got to look up adversary. Okay, look that word, look up the word devil, look up Satan. Satan is not even who they say that Satan really is. Okay, because you look up Lucifer. Lucifer is an ancient, extraterrestrial meaning, any force or object or being that's outside of this world. Okay, that is not of this world. So even a meteorite can consider to be an extraterrestrial. Okay, Lucifer is not who people say it is, like the sun in the morning. If you historically research Lucifer was not that. Lucifer was a light being and what have you. Lucifer was not what they present Lucifer to be. Even in the Bible, I know the story, what it says. Okay, but you got to get into ancient magic, okay, and look into the history about where it was deriving from or who Lucifer actually is. Lucifer was not who Christian people say Lucifer is. Lucifer and Satan are two different beings. Okay? So you have to research that for yourself as well. Again, this is just to provoke your thinking. This program is to get you to think. That's the reason why it's called a mastermind session, is for you to master your mind and to get you to think. Okay, now, these are the things I want you to think about. Okay, now, if Satan is the tempter, then who tempted Satan? Okay, thought-provoking session today. Studying session today. Okay, as all sessions are. However, today specifically, very in-depth. Okay, with you going back and doing your own research and you going back to ponder on these things. Okay, I'm going to question you again. If Satan is the tempter, then who tempted Satan? Now, remember, the Bible says sin does not dwell in the presence of God, right? So, being that there should be no other God before him, and it says, let his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Some of you need to understand, as it is above, as it is below. You need to understand that is an ancient spiritual saying, okay, that predates the Bible. Just like the kingdom of heaven is within, that is an ancient saying amongst those who are spiritual over in the motherland. That saying predates, okay, the Bible. That is not the first place that you see it. Okay, now listen, is an individual in Kemet, some of you know as Egypt. This being name is called Osiris. Osiris was known as the resurrection and as the life. Okay? Osiris was known as the resurrection and as the life. Now, Osiris predates this name called Jesus. Okay? How do you know? The letter J didn't come around until like the 1500s, 1800s. Somewhere around there. That's a new letter, and it wasn't in the Hebrew and it wasn't in the Greek. It was in the English letter. Okay? It was added to the English. It was an English letter. Okay? Now, the actual Kemetic name of Osiris, because that's the Greek name of Osiris. All right, the Kemetic name is Asar. A-S-A-R. Again, A-S-A-R. I want you to go look up Asar. Asar was called the resurrection and the life before the Bible was even written. Okay? Something for you to think about. All right, now, let me show you how they took the ancient Kemetic spiritual system, and they implemented it into the Bible. Some would say it's a misprint, whatever is there. Son of righteousness. Go look that up in the Bible. Go look up the Bible verse. It says son of righteousness. S-U-N of righteousness. Go look it up. Now, in Revelations, the Mashiach was noted as the bright and morning star. Okay? The sun is a star. The moon is a star. Scientifically, fact. Okay? They both are stars. Both of which are stars. Okay? Now, the bright and morning star, the sun. What does the sun do? Rise in the morning. The bright and morning star, the sun. Okay? So for those of you who do not know, a lot of these things that you've been practicing actually are ancient African spiritual systems, spirituality, that they fragmented together. They got this information, the Romans, because they went to Alexandria, okay, where all the information is, and they went into Kemet, and they actually got the way they do the priesthood. They got that from Africa. Okay? So I want you to understand that these things that you're reading are not African concepts when it comes to hell. Look up the word hell. Hell is not in our language. Hell is not in our language. Jesus is not in our language. Okay? Listen, how do I know? In Asante Twi, it's actually Twi, okay, Asante, okay, because some I'm saying this because some of these so-called Hebrew Israelites keep talking about our people over in Ghana, they're Hebrews. No, they're not. We don't call ourselves Jew. There's no way we can call ourselves a Jew because in Twi, that is T-W-I. Look it up yourself. T-W-I. In the Twi language, there is no J. There is no J in the Twi language. Okay? So we cannot have called ourselves a Jew. Now, historically, who put that word Jew in there is the Ashkenazis. Who owns the print presses and things of this nature? It is the Ashkenazis. It is the so-called Jewish people, which they don't make sense calling themselves Jew because even in their Yiddish and Sephardic, all right, Hebrew, there's no J in their language whatsoever. So where did they get that term from? Okay, but again, they're the ones, because they own the print presses. There's no African person who owned print presses. When these Bibles started to be printed and everything else like that, we certainly had nothing to do with it. Okay? It was the so-called Jews, the Ashkenazis, the Khazars. They did that. Okay? Now, when you look up this concept about Yeshua being worshipped, okay, it is a fact that over in Rome, you know what I'm saying, they're the ones who did that. Okay? Not the Catholic Church. You know what I'm saying? The Nicene Council, you know what I'm saying, before Catholicism was even started, you got to look up the history of that word as well. Catholicism, okay? You know what I'm saying? Look up when that word came into being. That's going to be your homework. Go look it up and you'll see. Okay? At the Nicene Council, they're the ones who did that. They're the ones who made, you know what I'm saying, this teacher in the Bible called Jesus made this being into a God, one who is to be worshiped. Okay? That is a historical fact. Historical fact. Okay? Now, our people never practiced Christianity. Okay? It is a historical fact. How do you know this? Because Bishop is Greek, Jesus is Latin, Apostle is Greek, Evangelist is Greek. Okay? The language itself lets you know that we never practiced this spirituality. It is not ours. That this is not an African system. Okay? Now, fragmentations of what they put in there come from Africa. Certain statements, okay, came from Africa, such as the kingdom of heaven is within. Okay? That comes from Africa. Okay? The priesthood comes from Africa. Because they're Kemetic priests. In Ifa, in Voodoo, okay? In Santeria, with Santeria, even the Hispanics, they got Ifa. They got the Orishas from us, from Africa. Because that is where our ancestors was dropped off at. Okay? So now, this Yeshua was no color because this Yeshua never existed. This being never existed. Okay? This Jesus never existed. Jesus was made up. Because if you go back to any old text, like the 1611 version, and there was no J in there. So this being was made up. People say, oh, well, you try to translate it, okay, into this language, and from this language, you know what I'm saying, things of nature. Linguistically, they're off because J, again, is not a Greek letter. It is not in the Greek alphabet. Okay? It is not. And I have to break this down for some people to help them to understand this. So when people get upset and say, oh, you know, you could talk about the European, this and that, you know, okay. Well, where else did it come from? Brother and sister, please tell me. Okay? It did not come from this being that they call God. It's not an African God that did it. That's for sure. Okay? Because our gods have African names, like Olodumare, Orumala, okay, Yemaya, Oshun, Baba Shango, Baba Ogun, okay, Olodumare. Those are African deities and beings. Okay? This other, you know, nah. It's not African. Okay, that's how you know. Okay, that's how you know. Just linguistically, and this is what I'm trying to tell you. See, some people don't think linguistics mean anything, but it does. You could debunk these things just by simply going into the language. Okay? There is no concept of hell in any African spiritual system. Okay? Not even over in Kemet, which Kemet is in Africa, some know as Egypt. If you go and look on the walls of Kemet, what you think is hell is not hell. That's the underworld. It's not hell. It is not the same. There's no burning place. Okay? In our spiritual systems, we believe in, you know, like reincarnation, evolution. We believe, you know, we come back, you know what I'm saying, through our ancestors. This is how you know, listen, this is how you know you've been in this lifetime before. You've seen things that has happened already. This is how you know you already been here. So for those who want to try to debunk that, I don't even deal with people who don't have these type of spiritual experiences like myself and some of you who's had visions and dreams and you seen something before it happened. Allegedly. Okay? We say, oh, I seen it before it happened. No, it already happened. Okay? It's a recording. It's just like a movie, like I said in the last program. This is the best way I can describe it to you. Okay? It's just like if you rewind the tape and somebody said something on that tape, you rewound it, mean you went back to listen to what they said, but at that moment you listened to it, they didn't just say it at that time. They had already said it. You just hearing something that was already said. So when you listen to a tape or CD or you're watching any type of movie, okay, the program that you're watching has already happened. It's not happening at that moment. It has already happened. So believe it or not, some of you, yes, you have already been here. Okay? This is the reason why you can see somebody and you be like, man, it's like I know them. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to help you to evolve, and I'm trying to help you to get to another level in your understanding. Okay? Because a lot of us, we don't understand these things that's happening. And some people will call you crazy, call you, you know what I'm saying, delusional. Okay? But you're not. You know what I'm saying? This is why when you meet somebody and you feel like you've known them forever, you did know them. You knew them in another lifetime. You know what I'm saying? You're meeting with your soul family. You know, you understand? So this is the reason why, you know, it's important to flow in the way that you flow and stop paying attention to people who don't understand. You can't expect somebody to understand. This is why they misunderstand, because they don't have the information. They're not there yet in their mind in order for them to comprehend these things. Okay, they're not on the level mentally to be able to spiritually digest these things. Okay, and as you continue to grow spiritually, there will be more that will unfold to you. Okay, so just continue to do your altar work, continue to pray. Okay, continue to seek out the gods and the ancestors. Okay, and continue to seek guidance. See, this is the reason why I'm not concerned about what people say, because I've done altar work and I've literally had interfaces with my ancestors. I have never had these dreams before. Okay, when I started doing altar work, I started communicating with the ancestors. I received blessings. I never had no bad experiences. I'm not being haunted. Okay, that's my spiritual family. That's my family. Those are my ancestors. They didn't come here to harm me. Okay, they came to communicate with me and to show me who I am. This is how I found out my culture. When I began to pray and seek out the universe, I started running into my family. My sister literally found me on Facebook. Her mother was standing there. My face literally popped up in front of both of them. This is how my biological sister found me. Okay? And I was praying and interceding during that time where my sister found me. And then before I had reconnected with my sister, my grandmother had told me about my other biological sister. I said, man, I would love to meet her. Well, my sister, she found me on Facebook, connected with me. We exchanged numbers. I spoke to her. Guess what? She had the number to my other sister that I had never met. I don't believe in coincidences. I do not believe in coincidences. When I interceded and I asked for this revelation knowledge, okay, the ancestors came to me in a dream and they started talking to me. They had on African attire. This is how I know. Okay, I'm not talking about just modern day. One dream they did and the other dream they didn't. They literally had on what you would see in the movie Shaka Zulu. And they all surrounded me. They were smiling at me. And they all came near me. And they started praying on me. And guess what I started doing? I started speaking to them in our native tongue. We started communicating and I started talking like it was second nature. And then I was like, how do I know? And I was literally talking to them in these languages. Okay, now, when I talked to a friend, he said, man, I'm going to start teaching you our language. And I started learning Twi. Because I found out through one of my cousins on my father's side, okay, that my family came from Ghana. And my family came from Nigeria. And that my family are Yoruba. And my family is Akan. Okay? And he told me they showed him symbols. Our ancestors who transitioned, okay, showed him symbols that come directly from Africa. See, I don't believe in coincidences. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. When you start talking and you and that person finish each other's sentences, or you thinking the same thing and you say it at the same time, that is not a coincidence. It's no such thing. These things are spiritual communications and transmissions that we're doing with our souls. These things are supernatural. There's no such thing as a coincidence. That does not exist. Okay? My wife, this is a true story. My wife, she's on here. Before my wife met me, she seen me in a dream. I had on a brown coat when I met my wife. Now, I didn't know this until after she told me this. She said she seen me with a brown coat. She seen my arm. Then she seen a Superman symbol, right? She seen a Superman symbol. Do you not know I have a Superman symbol on my chest? When I pulled off my shirt and she seen it, she was like, oh my goodness. She had already She had already seen these things before she met me. Listen, when I met my wife, it was a small, still voice said, "This is your wife." I said, "What?" Now listen, I never heard this about with no other woman. No other woman. Every woman I was married to, the marriage failed. Failed. I heard in my spirit again, "This is your wife." I said, "What?" I said, nah. The universe say, "Okay, I'm going to show you, see your wife." I went through hell. This woman, I'm talking about, I went from thousands of dollars I went from thousands to hundreds to the double digits. This woman love had never changed. And then it came to me again. "For I have told you, this is your wife." Listen, my wife and I have built an empire together. You know how long my wife and I dated? 3 months. We've been married. We've been together for 4 years. 4. She heard it and I heard it. We've been together 4 years. Listen. There's things that she and I desired that we both had prayed about, and when we came together and talked, we both was taken back. We was praying for the same things. We wanted a spouse we can buy a house together. I was getting ready to buy a house. I was told, "No, don't buy your house now. Don't buy your house now. Wait for your wife." I said, "What?" Don't buy your house now. Wait for your wife. Listen to what I'm telling you, man. Listen. I was told to wait so that she and I could buy together. And my wife and I, both of our former marriages, neither one of us had purchased a home with our spouses. Neither one of us. We both had prayed for us to do it together. We both had prayed to go into business together. We both prayed about these things. And when we started talking to each other, we was blown away. Even our taste was the same far as earth tones. My living room, when I came down here and I seen her living room, it looked like her living room. I was like, I thought I brought my stuff to her house. Our living rooms were the same, like the same theme. Earth tone colors and everything. Her living room, this is the truth, this is no lie. Her living room colors was the same colors I had in a second apartment bedroom that I had. The same exact colors. Brown and turquoise. The same exact colors. I had the same bedroom set, the same colors she had in her living room. And then her front room was the same colors I had in my bedroom and in my living room. But some people would say, "Oh, that's a coincidence." I pray that your mind opens today, elder, my dear brother and sister, and my dear young people today. I pray that your consciousness open, and I pray that you understand there's no such thing as a coincidence. Your life path is what's going to set you up for your destiny. Everything is happening to shift you in your life path. You don't understand why these things are happening. But listen, I promise you, you continue to seek the universe, I guarantee you, you're going to look back, you can be like, "Oh, that's why that happened." Everything happened to set me up for my wife. Listen, I retired. My wife said, "I don't want to marry nobody until we actually live together." If I was still working, there's no way I would have been able to move from North Carolina to Florida. Listen, I had just retired when I met my wife. When I met my wife, I had just received the confirmation from the VA of what my benefits amount was. It was enough for me to fully retire. I was able to move from North Carolina down here to spend time with my wife, and we lived together before we actually got legally married. Now, I don't care what religious people say. They could call it sin. I don't care. That word don't even exist in our language. I don't care nothing about what these people say. I really don't. I know one thing. I know what we prayed about, and I know it happened. I know I heard my wife tell me stuff, okay? How much money she wanted to have, how much money she wanted when we went into the real estate business. That is exactly the amount of money that she got. And over that. I heard my wife tell me things that I actually seen happen before it happened. She told me her dream about her coming off her job. She said she had a dream right now, today. She put in her resignation for her to fully retire. She said, Amar, I seen that I was coming off the job. I said, okay, sweetheart. Now we are in a position because of our real estate properties and because of saving, because of me doing what I'm supposed to do. Now we're able to go into full-time entrepreneurship. Now my wife is going into full-time entrepreneurship. She told me this before it happened. The supernatural realm is real. You don't need religion. You need a relationship. You need a strong prayer life with the universe. Prayer is communication. You just simply need to pray and wait on your answers and pay attention to what's going on around you. And I guarantee you, you'll find the answers that you're looking for. Again, I thank everybody for tuning in. It's yours truly, Amar Mari. I'm the founder of El Kebelon Unity Alliance, where we focus on your spiritual, your physical, and financial well-being. Thank everybody for holding on today. I pray peace and blessings unto you and your family. May you prosper both spiritually and financially. May you have good health. Okay. May you dwell in abundance. Okay. May understanding come to you. May knowledge and wisdom come to you. Okay. Ashe, Ashe, and Ashe. For my queen, Amani Amari, and I, we love all of you. Be blessed.